So much second shot. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Whoa, welcome everyone here. Welcome to Genesis, Center for Spiritual Living. So happy to be here today. So my name is Dave and I will be facilitating today. If you are joining us online, the lovely Cynthia will be our online communication link today. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for that. And go ahead and leave a comment or a chat in the communication link. You know, one of my favorite things that I love to do is when I go back home, I love watching the services and I love seeing all the little things that people have to say, what temperature it is, where they're from, or whatever is going on. So give a shout out there. That would be a lot of fun. And if you're online for the first time, tell us how you found us and say hello. I'd love to see that also. So Genesis is continuing our minister search, and we have our profile in invitational video for review on the CSL Ministers listserv. We are starting to receive resumes, and we'll have more information to share if they pass the interview process. But in the meantime, let us do like we do every Sunday and say our new minister sacred covenant easy prayer. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister from my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to glorify God, I therefore know my new minister is a revelation of God as love. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, I dwell in the house of love. Love attends me in my home of the soul. I shall never leave this home of the spirit. I shall abide in this home forevermore. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as revealing the truth and power of love. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself, for I am powerfully expressing divine love, inspiring all to do the same. I am blessing and honoring all paths of spirituality, awakening deeper truths and spiritual growth. I am a place where God shows up, expressing divine love, allowing truth and joy to heal all. I am embracing, teaching, and exploring spiritual truths from diverse spiritual teachings. I am teaching and embodying prosperity, trusting God is the source of my good. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will glorify God and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful. God is gracious. And so it is. Amen. I just love that. It's so awesome. And so now we will go to our announcements. These announcements are just reminders of what is happening. For detailed information about the following events, please check our website, our Facebook pages, event page, and our meetup pages. Lots of great places you can see these announcements. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Karen Williams and Cynthia Zink for Intention Circle via Zoom. Join us to create more miracles in our lives. A love offering is appreciated. And I just absolutely love this group. I attend most Wednesdays, and they do a fantastic job of setting intentions and doing a great job facilitating. And I just love seeing the miracles that show up in my life because of Karen and Cynthia. So I invite you all to join in those miracles. Today, from noon to 1:30, Reclaiming Joy After Loss. Via Zoom, join Cynthia and Diane Dyer, practitioner emeritus, in a caring, safe, and supportive environment for this amazing journey in mending your heart. Blessings again to both of you. Pledge card. If you weren't here the Sunday that we did the pledge, that pledge thing, and you want to submit a pledge card, you can still fill out one. And you can also go online at genesiscsl.org. And our lease is up. Our lease at the Carco Theatre is up January 30th. If you have any of these contacts or ideas of our new perfect worship fellowship space, please contact Gideon Kelly or Reverend Eric. Specific information, including contact phone number, would be appreciated. And Care Circle. If you're not in a Care Circle now and would like to join one, you can contact Karen Williams via Facebook or Carco Theatre. And I gotta say that I have been a Care Circle leader for many years, and it is an absolute joy to be a part of that group in a nice, supportive, caring, sharing place where we can just be vulnerable, real, and just connect with each other. So I really highly recommend that if you're not a part of that, to join one. And first timers, if there's anyone attending Genesis in person or online, I would love to know. What do we got, Cynthia? No one here? Just family? Always just family. I love our family here. Just love us with that. So, all right, well, before we get started today, does anyone need a prayer card? And we have Randy doing the prayer cards today. Andrew's taking a much needed day off, and so we are as always blessed that Andrew is here to do the service, and we are blessed that Randy is able to do those services for us today. Thank you so much, Randy. And so I want to thank the volunteers in service today. Want to thank practitioner Cynthia Zink, our volunteer coordinator, and the greener. Lovely seeing her face before service every single Sunday. And Soren, back on our sounds and lights. My gosh, Soren, you just make me sound so awesome. I just love having you here, so thank you so much. Michael Johns is running the camera, doing the awesome job that he does every single Sunday for us. And Randy, our usher today. Once again, thank you, Randy. And as I mentioned before, Cynthia is doing how many duties today? I don't even know how many duties she's doing today. Double, triple duties. Anyway, she's doing her online, as I mentioned before. So once again, let's give a shout out to all the volunteers today. Thank you so much. So today, our practitioner doing double duties as usher and practitioner is Randy Singer. And Randy did a beautiful meditation this morning, and as always, you can see it on Facebook or YouTube, of course. And I always invite people to go on and get just tons and tons of clicks Someday one of our meditations is going to go viral, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So let's make it Randy's. Why not? And he will be available for a prayer tune-up. So if you need a little bit of that prayer goodness, visit Randy in the back of the stage, and he will give you some of that God stuff, as we know Randy can do. And so I just want to thank Randy for being our volunteer and invite him to the stage today. And he will introduce our song, Out Beyond, a Rumi song written by Eric. So thank you so much, Randy.
And so now I invite you to sing along with Second Shot as we do Out Beyond.
Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field.
Good morning. All right. As was said before, my name is Randy Singer. I'm a practitioner here at Genesis, and I will be doing a reading and a prayer for you and everyone. Practice makes perfect. It takes practice not to become defensive or reactive when you are not accustomed to being centered. The metaphor of the eye of the storm is useful in remembering what to do when you find yourself caught off guard. First, shift your attention from the circumference of your center. Whatever has captured your attention, let it go. Don't make it an issue. Instead, bring your awareness to your center to to that part of you which is rooted in wholeness. It's just as simple as the centering exercise. When you become aware of a threat or conflict, just bring your attention to your center. Your center has many handles. You can easily access it by asking yourself a question. Here are some simple questions that will get your attention moving to the right direction. What am I making this mean? How is it possible that this feels like a threat to me? What belief do I have about myself that supports this feeling I have regarding the person or situation? What inner resource am I missing in order not to feel uneasy in this situation? What part of me wants to push this away or make other person wrong? And this was from The Eye of the Storm by Gary Simmons. So, let's take this moment to come together. Close your eyes if you like. And I just know right here and right now, perfection is at hand, grace is at hand, beauty is at hand, as it is all God. And God is always here. And as God is all things, it is each and every one of us and the space in between. And I know it is good. Knowing that to be the truth, I know right here and right now that this is a time to come together in community for a perfectly delivered and perfectly inspired message, knowing that we're here together and it is inherently good, and I released into the law knowing that it is perfect, and so it is. And so now we have the wonderful music of Second Shot featuring the great Peter Kirkland.
was pretty awesome. All right, I'm going to give you another clap. Let's give another clap for them. That was fun. And what a perfect song for Thanksgiving about grateful and gratitude. And so I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker today. And I'm going to read her little blurb that she just gave me, but I also want to say this because I love giving a little personal story. So if most of you don't know my history is I actually started in CSL. And where I started before I was blessed to come to Genesis as a practitioner is I started in Tacoma. And so I started in Tacoma with a Reverend called Reverend Francis. And Reverend Francis is our guest speaker's mother. And a huge part of my life and why I was into this teaching is because of your mother and what she meant to me. And it really touched my life, and it encouraged me to be a part of this and to be a practitioner and to where I am today. So for me to actually be here and listen to her daughter come and speak on stage is an absolute wonderful honor. I just wanted to say that. It is an absolute wonderful honor. And I missed her last time she was here because I was down seeing her mother and seeing her say goodbye because her mom just retired from CSL Tacoma. So I really had to share that because that's a part of my history down there. And so now I'm going to read your little fun blurb that we gave me on stage. So it says, Reverend Sonia is an ordained minister at CSL Ravenna in Seattle who specializes in retreat ministry. She laces her workshops and retreats with inspired readings, music, conversation, and deep reflection. She has done workshops on staffers' unconditional love and forgiveness, Desmond and don't know how to pronounce this as NFHO, but I just learned that it is Desmond Tutu's daughter, so daughter, work on the Book of Forgiving, Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul, and Brene Brown's Daring Great. Oh God, Daring Great, I love that book. She has conducted inspiring retreats on Maui as well as in Woodinville, Washington. Wow, awesome. So I just invite you all to just give a please, a nice warm welcome, Sonia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was quite the welcome. And my mom and I joke that who got the call to ministry first, and when I was in ministerial school with Reverend Eric and Colette and Reverend Drew and all kinds of amazing people, we learned that she got the call when she was about 12 through a mystical experience. I got the call when I was 13. So, but of course, it took our lifetime to come into the ministry. So we were fighting about who got the call first, lovingly fighting. So welcome. It is my honor to be here, especially on this day, where we are going to not only celebrate Thanksgiving, but also tell a bit about our Indigenous roots here in this country. And I'm also grateful I have South American Indigenous roots, my dad's lineage, and it's just really wonderful to be able to honor the First Peoples. So thank you for having me. I want to begin by honoring and acknowledging that we are having the spiritual service on ancestral lands in the waters of many Coast Salish tribal peoples who have since time immemorial protected and been in relationship with the Salish Sea and these precious lands that we now live on. So I want to acknowledge, I'm going to just take a moment to call in the directions the way I have been taught. And I think that's east, is that true? This was such a fabulous morning for those of you who live in the Northwest, because we don't always get sunshine. And I felt really grateful to wake up to the sunshine today. So I invite you to turn to the east And as we welcome in the direction of the east, we acknowledge the rising sun, the gift of illumination, the presence of light, in this new day. So to the east, you are welcome here, this direction, to this circle. Blessed be. And let us go to the south. That way. Thank you to the south. We welcome the direction of the south. That fire that burns internally. We welcome the mountains of the south. Passion. Blessed be. To the south, you're welcome here. Turning to the west, we welcome the waters of the land, not only the waters, which is life, water which is life, but also we welcome our emotional being, sacred endings. For those saying goodbye to some beloveds, this is the place of the setting sun. And a place to honor all of our feelings. Thank you to the waters. Thank you to the west. Blessed be. And invite you to turn to, this is the north. This is the place of our ancestors. So perfect time to welcome in your ancestors in the unseen realms on this Thanksgiving weekend. Blessed be to the north, to our legacy, to the white-winged ones. You're welcome here in the circle. Blessed be. And to the great above, we welcome the star nations, the moon, the ever divine masculine, ever expansiveness of life into our circle here today. Thank you to the great above. You're welcome here, blessed be. And to the great Holy Mother Earth, which provides so much nourishment for us. Every day we walk upon your blessed earth with care and reverence and love. To the great Mother Earth, you're welcome here in this circle. To the great within, take a moment to just breathe in that presence, that holy presence, that inner voice that is always speaking to you. That still small voice that is always whispering, loving, 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 loving. To the great within, you are welcome here. And I like to include the great without, which is the unity, the common unity, the community, which you all are. Thank you. We're ready to begin. Blessed be. In preparation of this talk, I've been reading, I don't know if you've read it yet, I've been reading, and I'm not through the book yet, but it is a fascinating read so far, An Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States by Dr. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. And we'll be talking a little bit about that today. And of course, Michael Beckwith's Spiritual Liberation jumped off of my shelf for our talk today, so we'll be doing some gratitude out of his book. So Reverend Eric asked me to, talk about why we want to be able to tell the truth about a story. I don't know if you were raised with the Pinta and the story of Columbus and drawing pictures. Are there anybody is there anyone young enough that didn't get that indoctrination here today? Or did everyone learn about the Pilgrims and the fabulous friendship, the welcoming of the Indigenous peoples? Okay, yeah. So it originally that the story, you know, obviously the harvest is an old tradition, and giving gratitude is an old tradition at this time for all Indigenous peoples around the world. And that little story didn't come until much later, in order to tell the colonization story in a way where maybe we could, people that aren't Indigenous could feel less guilt, right? So, but in reality, that's not what happened. And we know some stories of, you know, the decimation. There's so many stories of the decimation of our beloved ancestors. And I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to bring this up for us. Especially lately, the stuff I've been reading, I don't know if you've been reading about the boarding schools and the mass graves, and just, you know, the stories have been so hidden. And I find, just like in doing personal spiritual growth work, when we find the lie or tell the truth, or we're willing to speak that unspeakable thing, that the healing can begin. And so that's part of what, why we want to tell the truth about our history. I won't talk about I think you know the simplified story is the first Thanksgiving, everyone got together. The second Thanksgiving, they were massacred. They massacred a bunch of people. But I want to talk a little bit about the book. So there was a time, currently we have more than 500 recognized by the federal government Indigenous nations with about 3 million people. Originally on the land there were 15 million people who were of many multiple different traditions. So there was kind of a generalization saying that Indians or these Indigenous people were one people, but in reality there were thousands of different peoples and cultures. So in Roxanne's book, she does a great job challenging the myth of the United States, and she shows how policies against Indigenous peoples was colonialist and designed to seize the territories. So that was the main thing. One thing I read, I was looking for Renton, but I didn't see too much. There's a very small acknowledgement that pre-1900s this land was Indigenous land, but on in the Burien site, they actually recently updated it, and it's, I was impressed with what they wrote. So if you're interested, go to the Burien city site, and they do acknowledge the centuries of Native communities, and I found that to be helpful. I think we're starting to do that. We're starting to acknowledge the land that we're on, the peoples, and telling the truth. One thing that struck me, if you can also hear her speak, she has an audiobook. I started to listen to it. It's 10 hours, unless you put it on super speed. Do you ever do that? I do that, and then I go back to I put it on 2 speed because I want to get through. I usually read. I read faster than I listen. But the other day I was reading an audiobook, put it on 2, and then I came back and was like, wow, that guy's voice is amazing. It's so relaxed. He's not high pitched. So I don't always recommend that. But time is of the essence, right? So one of the things that I found in not only acknowledging, I guess, the genocide, the loss of many wisdoms and cultures, and really feeling that loss while I was doing this research. It's not a light book, but I think it's an important one to read. I was struck by this idea of what Roxanne Dunbar-Ortiz calls resistance, and that the mere, or just the fact that anyone has survived, any Indigenous peoples have survived, was a form of resistance. And the resistance happened in these storytelling and sometimes having to hide the culture, right? Because it was actually dangerous. Many years ago, I worked for the census, and I was probably, I think I was 19 years old, and I had this phone call with this man, and I will always remember his voice and his story, even though it's confidential, so I can't tell you the details, but I will say that I was calling to find out why he didn't mark his race box in his ethnic background box. And since 1990, the census has done a much better job about adding multiple races. If you're multi-racial, you know. If not, you might not have noticed that. But he told me the story. He was probably 97 years old, and he had this incredible, powerful, booming voice. And I was immediately kind of just drawn in and telling him, like, I totally understand why you didn't fill this out. And I'm on the phone as a telephone operator. And saying, you know, I also have multi-race. I never know what to put on those boxes. And then he told me this story. He told me the story of living in this rural river, and he said he was Black, but his mother was Indian, and it was more dangerous to be Indian at that time in the South, which was hard for me to believe. And he actually had to witness his mom getting shot when they found out her ancestry. And so he was a little boy when that happened, and I'm listening to him. So this must have been in the late 1800s, because he was already in his 90s when I talked to him in 1980. But I just, you know, to hear a live someone retell a story and have it be a heartbreak, and yet there was also, I felt called to listen with compassion, even at that age. And I felt really blessed that he was willing to tell the truth about the story. And who knows if that could begin healing or not. But I do know that when we tell the truth about our past, both our family of origin past or our ancestral past, we are at the beginning of shifting a narrative that then we can be on solid ground for building something forward that isn't denying the value and the stewardship and the gifts and the song and the culture that came from these original peoples, these first peoples. So the other thing I learned, I have all kinds of stuff here, but I'm going to read it, is to ask questions. She said, I watched a few interviews, and most recently Roxanne came and spoke in Seattle with one of our city council reps. It was phenomenal. But one of the things she said to the children is continue to ask questions, because you know as a child when someone tells you the story and it's not the full story. when someone isn't really telling the truth. It shows in their body. And that's the same true also when we're claiming a truth for ourselves, a spiritual truth. and you know, I know you do this because you're in a spiritual community, and that's part of our gift is we get to say, what can I hold for you? What can I know for you? How can I lift you up in prayer? How can I see the truth of who you are in this moment? Despite your circumstances, despite the condition, how can I see through? How can I love you? And when sometimes people want to say the right thing. Have you noticed this? We want to say what's right. And you can see it. It doesn't, their bodies don't show it. Their being doesn't show it. They don't light up with what it is that they're actually seeking. So, you know, are we really looking for, you know, what it is? Going back to inviting the truth, honoring, acknowledging our truths, our personal truths and the truths of the land. Both Indigenous people and our history of slavery and our history of the people that have come as immigrants. So I think these are important things. She's on her way to write these other books. She's an amazing author. She's a doctor of history, and Roxanne's writing. I think the next one on her list, at least 2 years ago, was the history of immigrants. So I want to take us through a blessing, still kind of in the honoring the Indigenous traditions aren't exactly linear. I don't know if you've studied much of the wisdom, but when I've entered into a circle of Indigenous teachings with some of my teachers, one of the things is storytelling. So it might be a story that's been told over and over and over again. I have a great book called Who Speaks for Wolf? And there's the story, right? In this case, it's a story written, it's a, let's see, Iroquois Nation story. And it is a story of a people who were having trouble finding food on their land. And they got all the elders together, and they were making this decision of whether they should move, and they did, and they moved to this new land, and right away, Wolf came to visit the area, and you know, it's a simple story on its outset. So, and I'm just telling you the basic story. And so Wolf came and started kind of encroaching on the human village, and every once in a while coming to take food, and so and then they were worried about the children and whether or not they would be safe, and people got together. And at that time, all animals were represented. Like there was a person that was called a wolf brother, and at that time there was always a person in the group who would represent the various animals. So they would call the animals brothers and sisters, right? Not people. We weren't people so much as there wasn't a separation, that we're all part of this planet and living together. But one day they met, and Wolf Brother wasn't there that day, and although he was said to have warned and said, this is the territory of Wolf for many hundreds of years, it doesn't make sense that we would just decide to make our home here. This is already claimed by Wolf. Why would we need to move? Well, he wasn't there to, again, encourage his people to move. They didn't want to move. They were pretty settled in the story. And then Wolf came and took one of the babies. So all of a sudden it becomes this tragedy. And in the story, at the very end, and it's always repeated, the question that comes after every meeting is, and who now, brothers and sisters, who now speaks for Wolf? Who now speaks for Wolf? So who speaks for the one that's not in the room, or the one that doesn't have a voice? Who speaks for Wolf in your own being when you have a story to tell that maybe hasn't been told yet? Who speaks for that part of you? In the Indigenous tales, they just tell them over and over, and one of the things I was taught was, where did you go out of the story? I wasn't really telling that story very well, sorry. But you know, when they're really into it and they're making all the noises and telling the story, it's like, where did you check out? Where did you check? So start to observe what drew you in. Where did you check out? Where did you forget the story? What like made you go, oh yeah, I need to think about that later, you know, and that kind of thing. So the stories get told and retold over and over, and this is part of the long tradition of how the people who went from 15 million to this such a small number have been able to carry on forward their culture. And that's an amazing form of resistance. Not the kind I would think of. So how can you honor your story? And I guess that type of resistance is, I would say, a loving resistance, a way to be loving to ourselves. The other thing I learned, I was so happy to learn that, do you know the song Up Where We Belong? Love will lift us up where we belong. That one. That was written by, I don't have her name right now, and then she won she was the first Indigenous person to win a Grammy for that song. So she was a co-author of that song. I did not know that until I started doing this research. And I actually watched a few of her videos, and I can't think of her name right now because I have it on my phone, but sorry, I don't have her name, but she's amazing. You can look her up. Saint, yeah. She also did this amazing song, and you can just hear in her voice, it was 1966, and she's playing with Woody Guthrie, I think, and you know, these folk songs, and telling the truth about where she grew up, how she grew up with her family. And I think even until 1970, the tribal schools were still happening, so it sounded as if she had maybe experienced that. In this song, you can hear it in her voice, and her eyes are watering, and she's telling, my country, 'tis of thee, thy people are dying. And she'll say, my country, 'tis of thee, and thy people are dying. It's amazing. Worth watching. I hadn't heard it. 1966.
Sonia?
Yes. Do you have a name?
Buffy St. Marie.
Buffy St. Marie. Thank you so much. She's incredible. And I want you to go get to know her. Watch a few YouTubes. Thank you. So, as we conclude, it's getting close to the end of my time with you. I want to, can continue to encourage on, I believe this month is now Indigenous Peoples Month. And I love to watch the movies. There's some really great films on Canopy available for those of you that have library cards. Really great films on Indigenous history. There's some incredible work that has been done to right some of the oil, communities that were leasing oil lands who never received any money from that. And the elders would speak about it and talk about this money, but they didn't have any money. Every month they had to write in to get a little money because the US government said, you cannot handle your money, we need to put it in trust for you. And then these documents were in some warehouse and not taken care of. Anyway, after 25 years, there has been a settlement, and it's the largest settlement against the US government in favor of returning some of that money that was never actually, never belonged to the US government. So I'm happy that certain things are happening and that we're beginning to have an awareness and tell the truth, because my goodness, our country needs to be founded on truth and love. And let's move on forward by starting with the truth, proclaiming what our dream is in the beloved community, as Martin Luther King Jr. and others have spoken, and practice this way of loving. Loving yourself for your own story that needs to be told. Everyone has that story. And we need each other. We need each other to be that feedback. And this is such a great community to do it in. So I'm so grateful to be here with you at Genesis. I bless you and I bless you. If you have your prayer cards, I just wanted to invite you, if anything popped up, or how can we support you in prayer? So pull out your card.
Anyone need one?
Knowing wholeness is my natural state of being, I now declare. And you can put your truth there. What is your truth? And we're going to invite this beautiful band back up. Get a song while you get the prayer requests or not? Change is coming. That's starting now. So I know as we close this service, I want to take a moment to thank the directions and just close those out. So we have thank you to the community, the great without. This direction is now closed. To the great within, thank you to the great within. This direction is now closed. To our Holy Mother, Earth, blessed be. Thank you, this direction is now closed. To the great above, divine masculine, this direction is now closed. To the north, to our ancestors, thank you. This direction is now closed. To the west, sacred endings, blessed be, this direction is now closed. To the south, this direction is now closed, thank you. And to the east, always illumine us with your light. Blessed be, this direction is now closed. So we call this day good and very good. bless you in your next part of your life, hoping that you keep together, knowing how loved and beloved you are, how this moment is a moment for change now, starting by telling the truth. Thank you, and so it is.
All right. Can we just give Sonia a hand for that? That was really lovely. Thank you so much. That was very honoring and very loving and very gracious. All right, sweet. Well, she took my script, so guess what? I get to do this on the fly. But that's all right. No, we're good. Let's see if I can. So right now, we did do the prayer cards, and thank you so much for that. So let's just move into our offering right now. And I just invite you, we just know that this center is supported by God. This is a place where God shows up, and everything that we give is circulated. So let's just give a moment of time to just give a gift and offering to Genesis. Now to hold our offering and our prayer cards to our heart as we say our prayer. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am thankful. And so it is. And so Randy will now come and give our cards.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God is my joy, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks. God gives me everything I need. God is my love, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
So I just give thanks right here and right now for all that is said, for all the blessings, for all the greatness, and for all the gratitude, knowing that these gifts are truly circulated into that divine. I call it all good. I call it all God, and I'm so grateful. And so it is. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming here to service today. Thank you to our band, Second Shot. Thank you to Pete Curtin. And thank you to Sonia and all that has been said today. Blessings and gratitude to you all.